magic in a young girl's heart. How the music can free her whenever it starts, and it's magic. If the music is groovy, it makes you feel happy like an old-time movie. I'll tell you about the magic, it'll free your soul, but it's like trying to tell a stranger about rock and roll. If you believe in magic.
Do you believe in magic? Well, we've got some magic for you. Come on in. Okay, go right over here so they can see you. And what's the talk title today? Okay, go ahead. What do you say? Nice and loud. Abracadabra. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Kayla. Okay, go back in. So the word abracadabra makes things magically appear, doesn't it? And today's talk is the abracadabra principle. So last week, we used the power of our energy, the energy around our body. Dixie, you got those things? Come on up here with them. And we had these little wands that we made out of coat hangers. How many of you were here last week? Okay, did you take some home and play with them? Yeah. And they move according to what the energy in our body's doing. So when you first start to hold them, they're all over the place. But as she settles down, and she's going to, it was just too much magic. Yeah. And what we did last week is we would think of something unpleasant, and they would go a certain way. And we'd think of something positive, and they'd go a certain way. And then we'd think of something on one side of the room, and they'd point towards it. We'd think of something on the other side of the room, and they'd point toward it. And we had a lot of fun with it. So who played with it at home? Thank you, Dixie. Ray did. Ray, you played with it at home? Wow. That is magic. They went up and down. Anybody else play with them at home? Okay. Well, that's what the magnetic energy around the body, that's what we're working with. And we can direct that energy. We can focus it, and we can make it work to help us. So this week, our focus is on how we use the power of our words, because our words have energy. Every word has energy. And we can use our words to make things move into our life. And that's why we're having this Prosperity Plus class. That's what it's all about. In the magical world of imagination, words are powerful, aren't they? Remember Dorothy? What did she do? She clicked her heels 3 times and said, there's no place like, come on, there's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. And what happened? Poof, she was at home. And if you've watched Harry Potter's, we're Harry Potter family, when they're doing their incantations, if they mispronounce a word even a little, it could mean the difference between turning a mouse into a toad or a dragon. The words we use daily may not seem as magically powerful as Dorothy and Harry Potter, but they are. They have the power to wound or heal, don't they? They have the power to accuse or forgive. They have the power to tear down or create. The abracadabra principle is what I focus on, I create. What I focus on, I create. What I hold my thoughts on. This lesson teaches us how to manifest material things. And how many took Prosperity Plus in here? Okay, great. And a lot of you had stories to share of things that were manifested in your life during that class. And we're offering it again. You can take it again. You can take it for the first time. I'd like everyone that comes here to be able to take that class because it will change your life. Abracadabra is an Aramaic word. That's the language Jesus spoke, Aramaic. And in Aramaic, it means, I create as I speak. I create as I speak. If you don't get anything out of today, remember that. Remember, every time I open my mouth, I am creating. And so we go to Genesis. We go to the creation story. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. God said what? Abracadabra. As I speak, I create. Every thought we have goes toward creating our life. So if you want to know what you've been thinking, take a look at your life. Every thought either moves me forward or it keeps me stuck. When we move forward, whether I'm moving to a new job or I'm moving into a new house, whether I'm starting to move into these new spiritual principles, this new way of thinking, I've got to get there. I have to move through stuff, and some of that stuff may be different than what I'm used to. Some of that stuff I may not like because I'm not used to it. But if I want change to happen in my life, I have to be willing to leave the old behind me and start taking steps forward. Now, I may not like what I'm going through. Because I know when I started spiritual practices, it got kind of churny for a while. And I was like, oh, maybe I just go back to the way I was. But I really wasn't happy there, so I kept moving. We keep moving forward, and we don't look back. We don't look back. Because if we do, if I'm trying to go in a new direction and I stop and I look back, I'll become immobilized. I'll become pulled back there, and I'll get stuck there. We know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible. The two cities were evil. So God, to cleanse them, rained fire and brimstone on them. But he allowed Lot to escape the city with his family. And he was told one thing. He was told, as they were leaving the city, because the city was so bad, not to look back. And what happened? Who looked back? His wife. And what happened? She became a pillar of salt. That's what happens when I start to move forward into something new and better, and I stop and turn and let the pull of the old grab me. I become frozen there. To reach a more abundant life, we have to keep our attention on the goal and not become discouraged, not feel guilty or beat ourselves up if it doesn't manifest right away. You know, when we go on a diet, there's the days you fall off. But if I just enjoy that dessert and then pick up where I left off the next day, I make it. I lose the weight. You know, if I quit smoking, the same thing. You know, I'm going to fall back. But the thing is to pick myself up and keep moving ahead. To keep my eyes on the goal. And when I do, I win the prize. In 1987, do we have race fans here? Al Unser? Who knows Al Unser? He was dropped from his race team. Even though he'd won the Indian 500 3 times, the sponsors felt that at 47 years old, he was washed up. And so for the first time in 22 years, he was going to have to watch the race from the sidelines. But every thought Al had, he just absolutely knew he wasn't too old to race, and he knew he could still win. And so those thoughts were so strong that when one of the team drivers was hurt in the race practice, Al was brought in. He was given a used, outdated car. It was a 1986 Mark Bosworth, for those of you that know the cars. And they stuck him back in the 20th position. No one expected anything from him. But Al wasn't fazed. He saw himself winning, and he expected nothing less than victory. And so, on the 183rd lap, he started working his way up that field and crossed the finish line for his 4th Indy 500 race 5 days before his 48th birthday. He is one of only 3 men in the history of the Indy 500 to win 4 times. Now, do you hear that? Do you see what his thoughts, what his intentions? Don't let people tell you who you are. Don't let people what you can't do. You set that intention and you go for it. Abracadabra principle is not magic. It's remembering that every thought is a prayer. Every single thought is creative energy. My thoughts are energy. We know the word prayer. We use the word prayer. We used to pray out there. But prayer is so powerful when it is used as the creative energy that it is. As I use it to affirm my wholeness, my good, my power. In Matthew 21:22, Jesus said, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received and what? And it will be yours. Now, we're told not to ask, not to beg, not to plead in prayer. But in Aramaic, ask means something else. In Aramaic, ask means to claim and demand. Do you hear the difference? Claim and demand in prayer, not grovel. Claim and demand my good. So if I think fear thoughts, if I speak fear words, I am claiming and demanding what? Fear. And that's what I'm going to get. If I speak lies, I'm going to be lied to. If I criticize, I'm going to be criticized. But if I think and speak love and abundance is going to come back to me full force. Each thought we think, each word we speak is a prayer. And it has a vibration. And that vibration boomerangs back according to the intensity and the feeling of the depth I have with it. You know, it's like, why don't my prayers work? So I sit there and go blah, 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 and then the rest of the day I'm off worrying about all my problems, right? There's no power to that prayer. But can I keep it in my mind all day? Can I affirm how powerful I am? Can I affirm that there's good all around me? Or once I get my prayer done, am I going to go look for all the negative things? What are your thoughts? And what are your words claiming and demanding from life? What is your heart's desire? What is your goal? What is your finish line? Doesn't matter how old you are. You can be a used, outdated car. It doesn't matter your position in life. You can be stuck back in the 20th position like Al was. You can win your prize. The abracadabra principle is about understanding the higher laws that override the lower laws of our ego and sense consciousness. Sodom and Gomorrah metaphysically represents our sense and ego consciousness. So we want to get out of that. We want to flee from that. And as we do, we're not going to look back. The abracadabra principle is about living as though your intention has already happened. And that's what the whole Prosperity Plus class is about. Live as though I already have what I want. Feel it, smell it, experience it like it's already here. Because it is. I just can't see it yet. It's about living and knowing that I can and will reach the finish line. if I doubt, if I start believing that circumstances are more powerful than my intention, then it creates conflict in my brain. Have you had that conflict? You know? You know, the devil on one side, the angel on the other side, going back and forth. My mind becomes like a battlefield. You ever feel like your mind's a battlefield inside? Those nights you can't sleep and you twist and turn? So there's 4 common battlefield areas. There's 4 places that the mind gets hung up. And the first one is the rut. We have 60,000 thoughts daily. And 98% of them are the same as the day before. You wonder why you can't get out of that rut? Instead of using thoughts to move forward, we waste them on insignificant, meaningless things that we thought about yesterday. So the next time you're standing at the Publix checkout or any store, notice what they put on the magazine covers. They put all those meaningless things that the ego just loves to look at. Cosmopolitan had simple ways to make him worship you. It doesn't work. Yeah, your wife's too unity. Men's Health magazine, on the cover, it had 28 ways to turn chicken into muscle. And the Ladies' Home Journal had anti-aging makeup tricks and how to keep your closet organized. If the 7 million readers of Ladies' Home Journal shifted their focus from how their face, hair, body looked to how could I make the world more loving, imagine the effect it would have in their home, in their community, in the world, and in their looks. Absolutely. So to get out of that rut, focus on adding new thoughts. If you find yourself caught up in the same thing you've always been thinking about, stop it. We use that cancel. And put something you heard here, or put an affirmation in there instead. The second battlefield we get caught up in is called the ads. Do you know that U.S. advertisers spend over $400 billion every year trying to convince us that without their products, we're complete losers? You know, I mean, when I see the ones with toes and your toes got to look a certain way, their aim is to make us dissatisfied with what we have and who we are. The average American sees between 1,500 and 3,000 commercials a day. And even if we don't watch TV, they pop up on my computer. Have you checked the eggs or the fruit out in the grocery stores? They got little ads on them. And then the semis along the road have them. And then what about the billboards? We've got a great billboard that tells us how we should be. Hallmark. Face it, you'll never come up with anything clever on your own. Now, you know what? If as we're driving by and read that, it's going in there. It's going in there. So the next time, instead of writing something personal on that card, we're going to go, oh no, I can't write anything. And we go out and buy a Hallmark card. Make your own ads. Make your own ads. Put affirmations on your mirror. Stick them in your car, on your dresser, on your desk at work. We had a board meeting this week, and we start our board meetings with heart check-ins. We check in with our heart, and then we all draw an affirmation. And I loved Judy. She's got a book. She keeps all of hers in this big scrapbook. And Beth, would you hold your purse up, please? So there's her purse, and whenever she gets an affirmation or we hand out things, she stuffs them in there. She said, I'm not organized. I just stuff them in here. But the cool thing is, when she's in there trying to grab something, Out comes a blessing. So create your own ads. The other place that we find a minefield is from other people's heads. Now, just like radio waves, the electromagnetic energy that flies all around us, that operates our cell phone, the radar, the satellite stations, our microwave ovens, other people's thoughts are constantly bombarding us. It's energy, folks. It's energy. I did a workshop with Greg Braden, and they were probably this is way back when Heart Math Institute was first starting. And they had asked him to use one of their very first machines to measure the prayer energy in the room. So he hooked himself up to this machine. He went into prayer. And it was that anyone within 5 or 6 feet of you would connect to your energy. And eventually, the whole room would be in prayer. And they had a chart up there that you could watch. And so as people went into prayer, you could see it going up and going up. You know, I'd pray, and I'd kind of look up a little bit and see where it's going, until everybody in that room, and it was electrically measuring that everyone was in the same vibration, was in the same prayer consciousness. It's real. It's real. So when you're sitting here, why you feel so good when you leave here on Sundays is because as you're sitting here, we're all thinking the same thing. We're all in that place of love. We're all in that place of awareness of God. That's why you feel so good when you leave. The more thoughts that we're bombarded with, the less we're able to access the field of potentiality, what we call God. So how do we stop all that? Meditation. And if you're in the middle of a crowd, try to move yourself away for a while and just do some deep breathing. But the more I can quiet my mind, the more I allow myself to stay firmly in my energy and not be affected by someone over here that's very negative. Julia just gave me a great example of being in traffic and watching somebody just really ranting and raving. And we were talking about that, you know, how you can see how easily someone loses patience. And I can remember when I used to do that. And now their energy, and I would get drawn into that energy. It doesn't happen anymore. The more I practice becoming still. The last battlefield is guess where? My own head. Because despite what I think I'm thinking, there's a bigger unconscious conflict getting in the way. So I may set all these intentions, all these goals, I'm going to move forward, and then I go, I'm not really good enough to do this. I don't deserve this. I can't do it. It's too hard. This is called false prayers because it's a waste of our creative energy. Countless negative thoughts inside here will tell me that I'm hopeless, that I'm less than. And whether I realize it or not, these end up being the thoughts I believe. When you're all alone, pay attention to what you're thinking. And if you can't get control of it, pick up a daily word, pick up an affirmation, keep something handy you can grab to change your thinking, to put it on the positive. So this week, we are going to claim and we are going to demand and we are going to create our good. This week's experiment, it says use 48 hours. You can use all week if you want. You're going to use the power of your thoughts and your words to magnetize something into your life. Can I share what you shared with me, Dixie? Grab a mic. She did it ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm reading ahead in the book. I made a commitment that my goal would be a $200 sale of my linens in my shop. Well, the next day, the dealer working in my shop that day called and said, a lady wants to buy this tablecloth and napkin set, was marked $95. She wants your best price. Said $75. She said, nope, that's still too high. She wants it for half price. I flared up and said, absolutely not. I will not cut my prices in half like that. And she said, okay. I hung up the phone and thought, wait a minute. That's a fourth of my goal. I just cut off a fourth of my goal. So I called, after the woman had left, I called back and said, if she comes back in, sell it to her for half price. She said, okay, I will. 2 days later, 2 other people came into my shop. Within 15 minutes, spent over $200 on Fiesta wear pieces that I had that was that far away from my linens. It was on the shelf right next door. What happened was I blocked the flow, and in my reestablishing it, it got misdirected by 2 inches. But it worked.
Thank you, Dixie. So this exercise tells us to be specific about what we ask for. And one of the funny stories in the book is a friend of hers said that he wanted to sleep with 2 girls at the same time. Well, he ended up in bed with his girlfriend and her 6-year-old daughter. So be specific. You know, I want I want front row seats at a concert. I want my significant other to bring me flowers. Pick something. You know, I want $200 sale in my linens. Pick something specific and focus on it this week. I want to hear some stories next week. I want to hear what you manifested. Think about what it's going to be. Claim it. Demand it. Act like you already have it. And abracadabra, it will manifest. God bless you.